We all make financial decisions, right? Big ones, small ones. And those choices really ripple through our lives, affecting our well-being.
Absolutely. They shake so much.
But have you ever stopped to really think about why you make the decisions you do? Like what's going on underneath?
Exactly. And that's what we're getting into today.
We're doing a deep dive into the factors influencing our financial decision-making. We've got this interesting study, looked at about, 634 household investors.
That's right. Plus, we're pulling in insights from behavioral finance, the psychology of money, and just, real world stuff we see.
So the mission here is really to understand the key drivers, everything from financial literacy and capability to emotions and mindset.
Yeah, to really unpack what makes us tick when it comes to money.
Okay, so let's dive in. First up, the study mentions digital financial literacy, or DFL. What exactly is that?
So DFL, think of it as how comfortable and competent you are using online financial stuff.
Like banking apps, investment platforms.
Yeah, exactly. Or even just finding information on financial websites. And the key thing the study found, a really strong positive link between good DFL and making sound financial decisions.
Which makes sense, I guess. So much is online now.
It really is. It's almost foundational these days, not just a nice to have. It helps you access better opportunities, frankly.
Okay. Then there's financial capability, FDC. How is that different from just being good with the online tools?
Right. So FD is broader. It's not just the digital skill. It's your overall ability to understand and manage your finances effectively.
So like budgeting, understanding products.
Precisely. Budgeting, knowing about different loans or investments, having the confidence to plan ahead. And no big surprise, the study backed up the idea that higher FC leads to better financial decision making.
So if you're great with online banking, your DFL is high. Does that automatically mean your overall FC is high too?
Not automatically, no. But here's where it gets interesting. The study showed that FC kind of acts as a bridge.
A bridge? Between what?
Between your digital financial literacy, your DFL, and actually making good decisions. So think of it like this. Being digitally savvy helps you get the tools and info you need, and that helps build your wider financial capability, your FSC, and that ultimately leads to better choices.
Ah, okay. So they sort of feed into each other. DFL boosts FC, which improves decisions.
You got it. They're interconnected.
That helps visualize it. Now, another one they looked at was financial autonomy, FAUT. That sounds more about feeling in control.
Exactly. Financial autonomy is that sense of being self-reliant, confident making your own money decisions without feeling like you have to rely on someone else.
And the study found?
A clear positive link there, too. The more financially autonomous you feel, the better your financial decisions tend to be.
Stands to reason, I suppose. If you feel empowered and like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you're probably going to make more considered choices.
How does someone actually develop that sense of autonomy?
Yeah. Well, the research suggests a couple of paths. Sometimes it's learn from your environment. Maybe your family taught you good habits.
Right. Socialization.
Or it can be more self-driven. You actively go out, find information, take charge of your finances, and that confidence just builds with experience.
Okay, so we've got these positive factors. Digital skills, overall capability, feeling autonomous. But the study also looked at things that can mess things up, right? Like impulsivity.
Oh, absolutely. Impulsivity, that tendency to just act on a sudden urge, a desire, without really thinking it through.
Yeah, we've all been there.
And the study clearly showed, as you'd expect, a negative link. More impulsive, generally worse financial decisions.
No shocker there. That sudden urge for the shiny new thing. But didn't the study find something more specific about how impulsivity interacts with our capabilities?
Yes, and this is really fascinating. They found impulsivity negatively moderates the relationship between financial capability and financial decision-making.
Okay, unpack that. Negatively moderates.
Right. So imagine you actually have good financial knowledge. You know how to budget, save, invest. That's your financial capability.
Got it.
But if you're also highly impulsive, that impulsivity can actually weaken your ability to use that knowledge effectively. It undermines your good intentions, basically.
Wow. So even if you know better, the impulse can just take over and sabotage things.
Precisely.
That really makes me think of that idea we've talked about before, the spending monkey.
Huh. Yes, the spending monkey is the perfect metaphor. It's that little voice, that urge inside, pushing you to make unnecessary buys, often driven by emotion or seeing an ad
or just wanting that new phone now, even if it kills the budget.
Exactly that, even if it doesn't line up with your bigger financial goals at all.
So how do we fight back? How do we tame the spending monkey?
Well, one slightly funny but potentially useful trick is the monkey NO
Oh.
technique. Yeah, when you feel that urge bubbling up, you consciously acknowledge it, name it, and mentally or even out loud if you're alone, just say monkey NO. Sometimes just calling it out helps break the spell.
Okay, I might try that. What else? More conventional tactics.
Oh, definitely. The basics are crucial. Tracking your expenses, having a budget. When you see where the money goes, those impulses can seem less appealing.
Makes them harder to justify.
Right. And shifting your focus helps too. Maybe prioritize spending on experiences rather than just stuff.
Ah.
Also, learning to resist peer pressure or advertising triggers. The goal really is to get more satisfaction from saving and hitting your long-term goals than from that quick impulse buy.
Those are really practical. Good advice. Now, what about financial attitude, FA? Did that play a big role in this study?
You know, it's interesting. Some research does emphasize attitude, having a positive outlook. But in this specific study, they didn't find a significant direct link between FA and financial decision-making for the whole group.
Huh. So the skills and the sense of control seemed more important here.
It seems that way, yes. For this particular sample, at least.
What about demographics? Did they see differences based on, say, gender or age?
Well, overall, the study found no significant difference in financial decision-making between men and women.
Oh, that's actually quite encouraging. Maybe the gap is narrowing.
It could suggest that, yeah. Maybe increased engagement, women's empowerment in finance. It's a positive sign.
But was there a slight nuance there?
There was. When they did a deeper dive looking at subgroups, they found the positive effects of the digital literacy, and FAUT, the autonomy, were a bit more pronounced for the men in the study.
Interesting. So overall parity, but some factors might have slightly different weights.
Potentially, yes, within this group. And age-wise, most participants were between 21 and 50, so the findings are most relevant to that sort of working age population.
Right. So stepping back a bit, it feels like there's this huge psychological layer to money beyond just the numbers and skills. We mentioned the spending monkey, but what about the monkey mind in general, especially for saving or investing?
Absolutely. The monkey mind, that term, captures it well. It's our mind's tendency to jump around, get easily distracted, maybe by immediate desires or negative thoughts.
Like wanting ice cream instead of investing that tenner.
Exactly. Or dwelling on your debt instead of focusing on a plan, or getting spooked by every market dip. Someone famously said personal finance is like 98% psychology.
98%. Wow.
Yeah. The technical know-how is arguably the smaller piece of the puzzle.
So if it's mostly psychological, how do we manage that monkey mind with our money?
Well, the absolute cornerstone is self-awareness, really getting to know yourself financially.
Know thyself?
Pretty much. Understand your tendencies, your triggers, your emotional reactions to money stuff. Think about how you grew up with money, past successes or failures.
Your parents' influence, maybe?
Definitely. All that baggage, good and bad. And also, critically, learn to unlearn bad advice. Be a bit cynical, maybe.
Cynical out.
Wary of advice that might be driven by commissions, or overly complex products you don't really understand. Stick to trusted, objective sources.
Like certain blogs or communities.
Yeah, there are great financial independence blogs, places like the Bogleheads Forum, authors like Andrew Hallam who focus on straightforward, evidence-based stuff. And crucially, challenge those limiting beliefs.
Like, I'm just bad with money.
Exactly that thought. That mindset isn't fixed. You can change how you think about and handle money.
That ties into the idea of scarcity versus abundance mindset, doesn't it?
It really does. That's fundamental. Are you operating from a place of not enough? Constantly worried? That's scarcity.
Which leads to fear, maybe hoarding.
Or being too scared to take reasonable investment risks. Whereas an abundance mindset is more about seeing opportunities, believing there's enough to go around.
Yeah.
It fosters a more positive, proactive approach.
Recognizing those scarcity thoughts is the first step, I guess. But changing them, that sounds tough.
It can be. It's a journey. I remember reading anecdotes like Tony Robbins talking about giving money away even when he was broke to cultivate that feeling of abundance. It's about shifting that internal narrative.
It really highlights how much our emotions are tied up in this.
Yeah.
Which brings us neatly to emotional intelligence, EI.
Absolutely central. EI is key.
Define that for us again in this context.
Sure. Emotional intelligence is basically your ability to recognize and manage your own emotions and also understand others' emotions, and then apply that understanding to how you make decisions and solve problems.
And higher EI usually means less impulsivity.
Generally, yes. Higher EI often correlates with being less impulsive and making more rational, thought-through financial choices.
So how does EI show up practically day to day with money?
Well, there are a few key parts. Self-awareness, again, recognizing how your feelings, fear, greed, excitement, stress are affecting your financial judgment in the moment.
Like noticing you want to panic sell when the market dips.
Exactly. And then comes self-regulation. That's the ability to keep those emotions in check, to pause.
The pause.
Yes, not react impulsively based on that fear or excitement. Acknowledge the feeling, but then act mindfully, sticking to your long-term plan. Sometimes a good advisor helps you enforce that pause.
Right, an external check.
And then there's motivation, that inner drive, the resilience to stay focused on your long-term goals, even when things get tough or you face setbacks. EI helps fuel that persistence.
It's so clear how linked our emotional and financial health are. And nowhere is that clearer, perhaps, than with debt.
Oh, absolutely. The psychology of debt it's heavy. Debt isn't just numbers on a page. It weighs on you mentally.
Causes anxiety, stress.
Anxiety, stress, frustration, shame, even depression. And it can affect physical health too. Sleep problems, headaches, you name it.
What drives the behaviors that lead people into debt? Obviously, sometimes it's unavoidable things.
Right. Economic conditions, losing a job, a big medical bill. Those are huge factors, absolutely. But we also have to acknowledge the role of, well, emotional spending, instant gratification.
Back to the spending monkey again.
Yep. Using spending to cope with other feelings, or just getting caught up in wanting things now, stretching finances too thin and ending up in debt. It's a common pattern.
It sounds like a really tough cycle.
Right.
So what are some practical strategies for managing debt or avoiding it?
Okay, several things. First, you absolutely need a detailed budget. Know where every penny is going. That's non-negotiable.
Get clarity.
Exactly. Then look at debt repayment strategies, like the snowball method, paying off smallest debts first for motivation, or the avalanche highest interest first to save money. Pick one that works for you.
Right.
Building even a small emergency fund is vital. It stops you from having to borrow for the next unexpected thing.
Breaks the cycle.
Yeah, and maybe limit how easily you can spend digitally, especially credit cards. Make it less frictionless.
Think twice before clicking buy.
Right. Evaluate credit card rewards carefully. Are they encouraging overspending? Consider credit counseling if you're overwhelmed. Talk to your creditors. Sometimes they can help.
Don't just hide from it.
No. Set small, achievable milestones for paying debt down and acknowledge them. Boost your financial literacy overall. Maybe talk to a financial advisor. And crucially, manage the stress.
Wow.
Be aware of your triggers. Is it online shopping, subscription traps, those get-rich-quick things, online gambling? Know what tempts you into bad decisions.
Them men.
Talk to someone you trust. Don't bottle it up. Prioritize self-care, and saying no to things that derail your finances is self-care. And seek professional help if the stress is too much. Take control back.
Okay, so that's the debt side. Let's lift to the other end, wealth accumulation. What can we learn psychologically from people who successfully build wealth?
It's often a different perspective on money itself. For many who build wealth effectively, money is seen less as an end goal and more as a resource.
A tool.
A tool for what?
No.
For creating opportunities, generating more wealth, achieving long-term goals. It allows for more strategic, patient thinking. You see patterns in people like Warren Buffett, long-term value, frugality.
Or Sarah Blakely bootstrapping Spanx.
Right. Or families that maintain wealth over generations. While everyone's different, there are common threads in their mindset and behavior.
Such as? What are some of those key strategies or mindsets?
One is constantly being on the hunt for new opportunities, being proactive, looking ahead, understanding potential shifts.
Not just sitting back.
No.
Oh.
Another is being, well, a bit like a lion about opportunities and territory, doing thorough research, taking calculated risks, being willing to look beyond their backyard for better jobs or investments.
Being bold but smart.
Exactly. A core principle is usually living below your means. Sensible spending, focused on long-term benefit, not just instant flash.
Delayed gratification again.
Pretty much. They also tend to invest time in learning how to invest money wisely, continuous learning, and regularly reviewing their goals, making sure they still make sense as life changes.
It keeps coming back to that long-term view, learning, adapting. Okay, one more area, the psychology of giving. Philanthropy. What makes us want to help others?
Well, there seems to be a pretty deep human instinct for it, you know? Empathy, compassion, our ability to imagine what others are going through plays a big part, and many societies really encourage it.
Like the UK being called a nation of givers. What motivates people to actually give their time or money?
Several things come up in research. A sense of responsibility is a big feeling like if you can help, you should.
Hmm.
Wanting to give back is another, especially if you've received help yourself or just feel fortunate.
Paying it forward.
Yeah. And also just feeling it contributes to the community makes society better. There are some interesting patterns, too.
Like,
Well, women often tend to give more time volunteering. Men might, on average, give larger sums of money. Younger people are often very active volunteers, while the peak age for financial giving is often middle age, say 45, 54.
and our giving isn't always rational or consistent, is it?
No, it's definitely emotional. Giving often spikes around Christmas, for example. Some studies even show slight bumps on Friday evenings. Personal events matter too. Get a pay rise, maybe you give more. And lots of everyday kindness, helping neighbors. That doesn't get counted as charity, but it's still giving.
What stops people giving more if they want to?
The biggest barrier is usually just lack of money. Simple as that. Concerns about where the money actually goes, trust in charities, that's another factor. And lack of time is huge for volunteering.
Right. Busy lives.
Yeah. But despite those barriers, a lot of people feel they should give more time or money. And often there's a strong pull towards supporting local causes, things they can see making a difference in their own community.
You see those images, like people running for charity or working on a community project. It really captures that spirit.
Exactly. It's about connection as much as anything.
So, wow, we've covered a huge amount today, from digital literacy all the way to philanthropy. What's the big picture, the main takeaway from all this?
I think the fundamental point is just how complex financial decision-making really is. It's not just about logic or math. It's this intricate dance between our thinking abilities, our emotions, our beliefs, our mindset.
It's deeply human.
Totally.
So, what's the one key thing you hope listeners take away and maybe apply to their own finances?
Honestly, I think the most powerful thing is boosting your self-awareness around money. Really take some time to reflect. What are your patterns? What are your emotional triggers? What biases might you have? Understanding your own internal landscape is absolutely the first step to making better, more aligned choices.
Okay. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final thought for you, the listener. Considering everything we've talked about, the skills, the mindset, the emotions, the spending monkey, what's maybe one small change, just one thing you could think about implementing today or this week to move towards financial decisions that feel more informed, more aligned with who you want to be, and foster a healthier relationship with your money.
Maybe just picking one area that resonated, impulsivity, scarcity, whatever it was, and just spend 15 minutes learning a bit more about it, or even just thinking about how it shows up for you. That small bit of focused attention can really be the start of something significant.